started this, what, 2013?
You better.
Obama was the president. I was not married. I had no kids. I'm now married. My wife Julia here, 3 kids. So, well, that's a whole other story.
That's a whole other story.
Anyway, the process got delayed, obviously. But anyway, does anyone have any questions? I'll tell you whatever you want to know. Yeah. There you go.
Can you talk about the process, like? How
Yeah, I'll whatever you want to guys talk about, I'll talk about it. Wide open. What do you want to know?
Yeah, just like what you like, what delayed it, and like what pieces were shot earlier and later, and that kind of thing.
That's a long story, but I was hoping I had grandiose schemes of finishing this in one summer. That did not happen. I kind of underestimated a lot of things. My first film, Mold, screened here back in 2012. It was all in one location, so you had control of the environment. No night, no day, no weather to worry about. And I had to build sets, and that was all problematic. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna shoot out in the woods at nighttime. What can go wrong? Just about everything went wrong. Everything took longer. The maggots did not want to cooperate. They weighed the big ones weighed 40 pounds. And to get them to puppet or to move in the way you wanted to move, or even for an actor to hold it over their hands while they're covered in slime, no less, so they're slippery. And it was a nightmare with that. And we didn't finish in time. And I'm like, all right, I'll get back in there and finish it next summer. And we got mostly there. But then I got married, and then she got pregnant, and then she got pregnant again, and then it was twins, and then it was no time to finish this movie. But eventually I just kind of hunkered down and got it done. Actually, this festival helped get it done, because then I had an actual deadline where someone's like, you gotta get that project right now. That's I got a deadline, no one messing around.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, it was, I don't know if any of you guys have seen Mold, but Mold was an invisible monster. It's spores floating in the air. It made it, in a lot of ways, a lot easier to film, to do. It was just what happens to the actors when they get it, then it's makeup on their faces and it's all in the performance. But with maggots, I gotta actually create this monster that's attacking people. And obviously they're silicone puppets. It was my first time doing anything like that, and it was just way harder than I expected it to be. And I remember when we first got there, we were trying to shoot the first scene with maggots, and we're like, this is not working out.
It's a very bare bones crew too.
Yeah.
We're all stretched so thin. I should get a lot more credit actually in those credits. We're gonna have to talk about that later.
We had a lot of points actors holding lights and whatever else it is, actors helping with lights.
We were all over each other, and it was pretty brutal.
When I did Mold, it was actually my thesis film for film school. So I had, in a lot of ways, even more resources. I had all their gear, all their really expensive, nice cameras, all the film students to help me. And then, when I kind of took on this, it was after school, and people had moved on with their lives. It was harder to get crew to work for free, or not work. So I was trying to do it for basically no money at all, and it was a crew of 2, 3, pretty much. It was me wearing 20 hats, trying to direct, write, produce, get people food, while I'm trying to direct. So it was very, very bare bones, but we made it through. Everyone, all 3 of us or 4 of us, we kind of stuck together. It was a larger cast than it was a crew. But yeah, so stuff. Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of the cast, the Gonzo pothead character, the cast character, the guy with the beard,
Murph.
Murph.
Yeah.
Please tell me about the actor. He's pretty fucking amazing.
The insane human being.
He'll love to hear that. That's actually not an actor. Not trained. He's my best friend growing up. I went to high school with him. I've known him forever. He was in my short film, so in that sense he's an actor, but he's never been to acting school. And actually, he was the easiest one for me to direct because I wrote his role. I just made him. That is what he is. He didn't have to act. All those little mannerisms he does, that's what he does when you hang out with him. So I just wrote it into the script, really. So he was I just let him do his own thing, and that was pretty easy. But yeah, he'll get a kick out of that. That's funny. Yeah.
What did you use to make all that slime?
The slime is something called, it's simple, it's called Ultra Slime. If I'm not mistaken, it was invented for Ghostbusters, from what I heard. I never researched that to fact check it, but yeah, you can get it from there's special effects stores or websites where you can order that from. It's pretty expensive. It's $40 for a pint of it, and goes a long way in a sense because it's not like a liquid that you can pour out. And the hard part is if you like want to get it out of the tub, you stick whatever you can to pull it out, and it'll just string forever. You'll keep pulling it. Next thing you know, it's all coming out of the tub. You try to pull one little dabble out, and the entire tub will come out with it. Just you can pull a 30-foot long gossamer string. It just goes on forever. You can jump rope it, yes you can. And it never washes off. It's a horrible pain in the ass. Don't want to get it in your mouth.
It's hard to reset. Once you've opened that tiny little can of Ultra Slime, it's messy.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. But it's called Ultra Slime. Invented for Ghostbusters. You first.
Yeah, this might sound like a typical question for a filmmaker. Tell me, were you in a helicopter to achieve that aerial tracking shot of the river and the van of the main characters?
No. Well, it's funny because in Mold I have some aerial shots, and I actually did rent like an ultralight airplane and flew around the desert and got like a 16mm camera and hung out the side of this tiny little plane, and I'm afraid of heights, and filmed that stuff, by hand. But this is 7 years later, and now they have drones. So that's just a drone with a GoPro attached to it.
Was it cost effective?
Well, I mean, I'd say I got my money's worth out of it. They don't cost that much, the drones, and the GoPro's not that much money. What costs a lot of money about that is that I kept fucking crashing them. So I had to buy a second GoPro, and when I crashed into a tree, and then I had to buy new propellers, and I crashed those things so many damn times. It's because to get the gear to be able to really properly see what you're filming while you're flying it, I didn't have the money to get the good stuff. So I had some really crappy receiver that was like a radio signal as opposed to something that's good connection. So if I would fly more than 30 feet away, it would go and static, and I couldn't see what I was doing. And when we were getting that shot you're talking about where it's following the car, I'm in the car. So I'm trying to watch the car while I'm controlling the drone while we're driving away. And I gotta make sure that the helicopter follows the car, and I'm looking at this little 3-inch screen to try to follow things, and it keeps going staticky. And then all of a sudden they just went complete static. I look up in the sky, and the drone's gone. We couldn't find it. We went up and down. I thought I lost it. It was like $1,500. I'm all pissed off. And we kept going up and down this same little stretch of road, dirt road, and then I just hear this little mechanical bzz, bzz, bzz sound, and there it was, 10 feet off the road, right there. Thankfully, it could have been 100 feet, 300 feet off the road, could have been gone forever. But I found it, crashed into a tree, and I got the footage. The camera still worked, and I got the footage of it actually crashing into a tree and tumbling 100 feet down and banging. And then it happened to face the road, so you see me going up and down the road looking for the damn thing over and over again. We were watching that footage, I'm like, oh, there I am. I'm like, what the fuck is this thing? Looking up and down the road. So that was pretty funny, but no, they don't cost much until you break them. So, somebody over here had a question.
So this movie reminded me of that time in high school when we were forced to look at flies through the microscope.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that visual. And I was wondering how much of the science is real.
Well, I guess everything except for them growing huge and eating people. It actually is called Cochleomia hominovorax. That is the screwworm, it's called. They've been eradicated from first world countries. What they did to eradicate them was they bred a sterile female, and they put them out in the wild. So all the males would go and want to fuck, and they'd fuck a female that couldn't deliver eggs. And they would put a whole bunch of females out there, so it ended up just killing off the whole lineage of them because they were all having sex with the females that couldn't procreate. So that's how they got rid of them. But in third world countries, they decimate livestock, they can kill people. The fly will plant its eggs around a wound, or even just in your eyeball or in your ear when you're sleeping. And then when the eggs hatch, they burrow into your skin, and they're called screwworms because they almost screw in and they don't pull out. Because it's they have serrated hairs on their body. So it has to be surgically removed one by one. I watched enough disgusting videos researching this movie that I've seen enough in my lifetime. But yeah, they'll kill people, kill livestock. It's really horrifically disgusting. Cochleomia hominovorax. Look it up, folks. It's gross. If you can spell it. But I don't know. Anyone else? Nope, that's it. Oh, here we go. One
Do
more.
you still have the props?
I do.
In your living room?
I do. Right now they're just all in a bucket in my basement. They're still covered with slime and blood. I had to put him in the bath and give him a nice little.
Part two.
Yeah, you know, just in case I ever want to do a sequel, like the most expensive part of this movie. Let me almost give the microphone. But the most expensive part of this movie was definitely the special effects. I mean, I basically didn't pay cast or crew or anything like that. You know, food and gas and transportation and all that stuff. But yeah, the effects were more than half the budget, and even my effects guy didn't even really make much money doing it. It's a lot of it was in materials, like silicone costs a ton, and each one of those maggots is like 30 pounds of silicone. But yeah, I have all of them. There's like 3 giant maggots, like 10 or 12 little maggots. I got little foam maggot brains from the cocoon. I still have all cocoons.
Some of them are really beat up though, right?
The
heavy
fly
ones,
especially.
Like holding it, like your fingers actually eventually slide right into it because it's so heavy and it's slippery. And
Yeah.
they're pretty beat up, but if you needed to use them, it's good that you could get creative with it. and
I could
pull
fix
something
them.
out of
You
it.
can only patch them up to a certain extent. The baby maggots are in the best shape, but the big maggots, I mean, it's like a thin skin of silicone on the outside. It's like fiberglass ribs with foam on the inside. And when we're trying to like move them or just throw them around across the room, they would get torn up, and then they didn't want to patch. It was, I don't know if it's a design flaw or not. I'm not a special effects artist, really, but they're really fucking cool looking, though. I'll tell you that much. I wish they were more puppetable. I kept trying to like find different ways to make them slither across the ground properly, like in camera, without having to do it like stop motion or tricky with close-ups where they're just slithering by like quickly on the camera. It's just
You have one that's with the bike brake.
yeah. Well, there's for the one baby maggot, one large maggot, and with the fly, they all have they're cable controlled, and there was like a gimbal. And all these cables came to a gimbal, and you can kind of control it by joystick. So with the maggot though, it was just a single one. It was like a bicycle brake pedal and a handle, and you push down the handle, and it pulls the cable and open the mouth and close the mouth. So I didn't have to like hand puppet that. So that was hand controlled. The fly had the most articulation because it had the head can turn from side to side, and that was on the gimbal, go up and down, side to side, and then like the proboscis can pop up and do all those different things. So that was pretty cool. But I think it got beat to shit. It's almost like unusable anymore. It took such a beating. The thing weighed like 40 pounds. Ridiculous. And that's another thing too. When still background on how to make this work in camera. But this was especially a problem with the fly because puppeting it in camera, it was most likely beyond my capabilities at my budget to like make it crawl across the ground, get all 8 legs puppeting with the wings going and all that stuff at the same time. I quickly realized that when I tried doing that, it was not working. So I actually pulled off every one of the legs, pulled off the wings, just used the body, and I would like roll it around on skateboard wheels that would hit under the body, and I would roll it across the ground or do whatever I had to do. And then in post, what I had to friggin' do, and this was painstaking, I had to do every damn leg in green screen with all the different movements, the right angles and the right size, and superimpose that over and have it track and follow one by one for every damn shot, for every damn frame. I had 6 legs, 2 wings, all trying to keep in sync with it. You'll never watch it and know that, but if you ever see it again, like appreciate that shit because that took
6
a
years.
appreciate the love that went into that because that was friggin' hard.
And I was pregnant in the shack scene at the end when I'm fighting all that stuff.
When she gets electrocuted or she electrocutes the fly against
I
the
was
thing and she
throwing
flies
myself
forward.
into things, and they had that fly on a backpack, and I was thrashing around, and
Pregnant with our first child, throwing her around. She was not happy, but she did.
oh, it was great. It was done after that. It was-
Yeah, that was the last
it
thing we
was
shot
all
with you.
good, yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
I think it came out pretty good.
Good. I'm glad you like it. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you do.
What was the hardest thing to shoot in this movie?
Swamp?
The hardest thing to shoot in this movie did not make it into the movie because of how hard it was to shoot. When they first get to the swamp, I had this whole action sequence written where they're walking in the swamp like waist deep. We chose a different swamp. It was upstate. It was like a legitimate swamp, and they had the waders on. They're waist deep in this swamp, and the maggots supposed to be coming at them from under the water from all different directions. And we started filming it, and it was fucking impossible. Like every step, there was like dead tree limbs under the ground. Everyone's slipping and falling. They're falling into the water and coming up. It's covered in slime and muck. There's like snakes and frogs and all the horrible shit. After one day of trying to get that scene, and it would have taken like 3 or 4 days to do the scene, pretty much everyone was like, I'm not doing that again. I'm sorry, but this is not working. I was like, no, I don't disagree. We kind of reshot it in a different location where the water was like this deep instead of like waist deep and redone it. That was damn near impossible. That almost broke me. But as far as what's in the movie, hardest is probably that end battle in the shack. That is like, there was just a lot of action, a lot of things trying to happen. It was actually multiple locations. Initially, we shot this movie all upstate New York in the Catskills. And there was a shack there that we filmed most of the sequence in. That was the first summer, and then we didn't finish the movie. So I ended up like recreating that in my garage and filming it again and finishing all that off. And that's when she films it
And
like
both tight
pregnant.
spaces, so it had to make sense every time you turned around, and it
The
was
lighting
very
had to
chaotic.
match, and that was pretty tough. And it was just like between the cocoons and the flies and the maggots that were all in there, it was just like a complicated effects mishmash of things that were hard to do. But yeah, that was pretty tough.
You don't do easy.
I don't know. I don't make life easy on myself. That's for sure.
why you
There's someone else up there. Saw her hand somewhere in the middle. Oh, somebody got shot. All right. What's
I
that?
think it's good.
Oh, good. All right, we're good. Well, thanks for coming, guys. Look out for maggots too. Coming in 2035.